the city, there's a chance for underground.
What,
That's true. Over here.
explain that to us. How come on the A, that's blank, what does this mean when it says reasons property without exceeds current?
Never good. Here's gonna be our rural, 35 years old.
How are you?
Lower the levies with your rate of evaluation.
We did, but the valuation.
I understand that,
Have
but still,
to see my granddaughter this week.
what's the?
There.
So much.
We paid for that. We didn't borrow money, we did not, we're paying us, we don't want that. The next year.
What's your annual cost over that?
I don't have the budget right here. It is. I'd have to look it up.
Is it substantial?
No, it ain't. No, it ain't real.
Where is their funding?
They get some from the state, county, we get. They were trying to work the. So it's. The 911 hours are.
How come they-
The people who have done it. They did that here. But yeah, I can go over, Jim can explain that.
I'm not gonna speak because I'm not a public speaker, but listen, the one thing that made me come to this meeting, when you guys pointed out to me the treasurer. I thought was fine.
I'll admit.
Then I saw you in the discussion.
I thought you were on your discussion too.
And next week I checked the paper and there's a big ad in there. For support of the treasurer. Yeah.
Bill,
The only thing I gotta say, and you guys know it.
Yeah.
You guys are trying some
You
different.
have to go with the national thing.
We're having- Every county around us is already feeling it.
Yeah.
And we're right, they're all, you guys know that better than I.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah, I
ever,
know we got-
have you ever talked about secondary roads?
That was from, the Carver.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, something like this.
Yeah.
What's, yeah. I know Minnesota did do it. I don't know. Still, I know one County, what is it? And I don't know if they're-
Yeah, they do.
They did it.
I got some cattle right up there.
they did it by township. You did it township.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, we're.
But in order to make it work.
Thank you.
I don't know how much like one man, one blade, you guys know, how much ground they cover.
This is one that helps.
And my suggestion is that you should try it. Section in eastern county and one in the western part of the county, just try it. We got it.
Don't worry.
I know this year now. he's got-
Yeah. Okay.
The county guys run it both.
Let them know the green ones.
Oh, it is beautiful.
It is, but.
Yeah, that's kind of what threw me off.
That way cheaper. Than that guy sitting there. Like he starts.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really.
Final four bracket turned out.
I'm trying to get it.
We had to cut.
We're gonna.
I never filled it out, but
Maybe they don't work.
I did
try.
They
keep doing the same
Huh?
thing.
Who's winning?
That's right. I mean,
All the
you know,
numbers-
with the same.
all the number ones.
Stop digging.
Yeah.
Oh,
oh, the second,
You're gonna have to
second time.
I mean, every, to me,
Wow.
when you're doing the budget,
That
every
completely
office,
threw
every
everybody's
department.
Well, I
keep
think
it
predictions.
cut 5%. Anybody can
Lost
cut
friends, there's
5%.
that ESPN one with 20. Oh, yeah.
We're.
She was in second place.
We're not done.
Okay.
All right.
And you know, I notice every year, I mean, I followed in this close, like, I'm in the paper, so it's like.
Sure.
This was one of them, we got some other goddamn things. Yeah, yeah, how many 100,000?
I don't follow it, must have been, no.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little walking.
Yeah.
Thanks, fellas.
You bet.
She's home. She's doing pretty good. Yeah, she isn't completely recovered yet, but
It's a big building, those kind of. Well, it's 9:30. All those that so choose, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order with everyone present. The meeting is being recorded. If you so choose not to be recorded, you have the option of leaving.
And there are extra agendas on the table over here for guests.
First item on the agenda this morning is a public hearing for the proposed FY26 tax levies.
I motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion second to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is now open. Is there any questions about the tax levy rate?
it all means. I have some handouts here, copies over here if anyone wants. That. Sure, I only have two. Let me grab one. Let me grab.
We could share one here.
Yeah.
Who else needs one?
Then I'll get you one after. Here's another one. Yeah, one. So this packet has some information. The hearing today is technically only about the tax levies themselves, and I can make more copies or send some of these out. But this one that's a one pager is what was printed in the newspaper. It explains the levies for previous years and this year. That doesn't really give you the amount of the kind of information you want. For one thing, this assumes a 10% increase in your property value, which we don't know if that's going to be what your property value, how it changes or not. This chart here shows the actual tax levies. The back of the second page in the handout. So you can see that the county's tax levy is going down about 6 cents per thousand for the total levy for the county only. This is only the county's share of the tax levy, which makes up about a third of your tax bill if you live in the rural area and less than a quarter of your tax bill if you live in a city area. So this doesn't have anything to do with those other taxing entities. I made some other notes here about the budget in general. We will be having another public hearing on the details of the budget itself. That'll be in one of the actions we take here in a few minutes. But this reviews the proposed levy, the proposed, some notes on the front, what the fund balances will look like using those proposed levies and the proposed expenses we have so far. Shows the funding for some of the other outside agencies. That's levy history that I talked about and our valuation history. All outlined there.
You want to remind the people what other taxing entities are involved in that? Is
Right.
2/3 to 75% of the
Yep.
tax bill?
So everybody has a school district tax levy. That's their largest levying authority. They have each of the taxing entities also has a public hearing like this one. I think the school actually had theirs last week. The city of Decorah is coming up maybe this week. I don't know for sure. Anyway, if you live in town, the city is your next highest levying authority, and then the county. Then after the county, there's a lot of smaller levying authorities like the hospital and the community college and the county assessor and the
EMS.
emergency manage, or if you have fire in the rural areas, you have the things like the extension service and several other smaller taxing entities as well. So when you look into the tax bill, it's a makeup of many taxing entities. We're reviewing just the county's share right now. And I guess the bottom line is that our levy is going down some.
And if you go back up, if you are on that back of that first page there, if you go to the
Back to the second.
second page there, that general supplement. 2 years ago, we raised that because we put the new 911 towers up. And we're paid that as we go. We didn't have to borrow no money or bond for it. So next year will be our last. And fiscal 27 will be our last payment on that. We can, if there's no further, we can lower that down.
We'll
again.
lower that.
Down. But we paid as we went on that. We didn't borrow no money, so that was a good thing there.
And that's outlined on the front page on one of those bullet points. The general basic and rural services levies are limited by law on how much we can levy. And with the current law, it actually makes us lower it a little bit each year. This general supplemental fund, the one Mark was just talking about, is not limited by amount, but is limited by use. It can only be used on very specific things that are outlined. And so.
And that limitation may be changing too. but
Who knows, with legislature is always considering changes. It's true.
Until we get through this legislative session, we won't know what's going to happen out of those two bills because they continue to change. There was a webinar last Friday morning at 8 o'clock trying to explain some of it and how much of it was really just up in the air and nebulous. There was not much definitive out of it.
I viewed that webinar after and it didn't answer anything.
No.
And I'd like to say in defense of the schools, when you see that school tax in your taxes, please know that many districts across the country are having to eliminate their IEPs, which stands for Individualized Education Plan, for a lot of the disadvantaged students because they don't have enough funding. So I think it's good that our county recognizes the need for that public education funding as they see more deductions in their support.
There is a planned increase in the school funding at the state level from the current 46% of the state revenue to 48% plus the funding that goes to higher education above K-12.
Is there any other questions, comments from the public? Online questions or comments? Oh,
Okay, now on our sales tax, when we purchase something, there's a 1% increase. Where does that go?
That goes into, the county's share, it's all collected by the Department of Revenue, and then it's split up based on valuation and population. So each of the 8 cities get a share that they use for their, the way they pass the 1 cent sales tax. Ours was passed to mostly go to property tax reduction. And so ours goes into the rural fund. And that's why our rural fund levy is like $1.93 right now. A lot of our surrounding counties are $2 or $3 in rural levy because they don't have that 1 cent sales tax offsetting their property tax. We have one of the lowest rural fund levies in the area.
And this, when we mean 8 cities, that included Decorah and the 7 other incorporated cities.
Yep.
All incorporated.
All incorporated cities.
They get a share of that 1 cent
Yes,
sales
yeah,
tax.
yeah. Austin, Calmer, Ford, Jackson Junction, Spillville, and Ridgeway.
Even though like Jackson isn't, I mean, there's really nothing there, but there's still.
They're still incorporated cities, so they get a portion of that money.
36 people.
Then like Bluffton, Borough, Kylanville, they're all unincorporated, so we, anything Frankville, so anything with, to do with their water or sewer, some of their sewer, we
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 have to,
borrow them the money if they have to do something, they pay us back on it, yeah. Yeah, Festina too, they're unincorporated. So, yeah, it's, yeah. Which we just got done with their water. Sewer.
If we need, the federal government comes in and says they gotta do this and that, we also gotta pay for it.
And, yeah, that's a very valid point, and that in the smaller communities of our county, that becomes a real burden. Because especially that has happened to Fort in their sewer plant, that's happened to.
Ridgeway really got a,
In their sewer
yeah.
plant.
Yep.
Water in the Spillville area. So I mean, each of those have been hit with multi-million-dollar projects, and these are small communities of 400 and under.
Unfortunately, we had over $30 million in federal funds come in the last 4 years to help offset some of those costs for small communities.
then if they decide down the road, well, we're not gonna stay in court, they can unincorporate. We gotta take them on, so then it's our. Yeah, so as long as they can stay incorporated, it helps the county out more, but it's still tough for them to make ends meet, it's a,
And
yeah, it is.
And a similar thing for any of our volunteer fire departments throughout the county. You know, because they're not a taxing, their funding is very limited.
Limited, yeah.
And they're all volunteer labor, so we're very fortunate. And if we lose them, that's another big strain that would hit us.
you've got a comment on mine there. Carol.
Oh, gotcha. I'm not sure if Fatima's running this and making her able to speak or if I am. Fatima, can you unmute
Carol Dow.
Carol Dow, please,
She needs to unmute herself.
on her end? Carol, can you unmute yourself on your end?
Looks like it might work.
She could type in her comment.
You can type it, your comment in the chat if you'd like to, but on your computer, it might be in the upper right corner as a microphone icon or in your lower left corner as a microphone icon.
She's already unmuted.
Okay,
Go. We cannot hear her in here, Fatima.
I think it's from her end.
can you check the volume on the computer?
Not my computer, so I'm honest with it.
She's muted again.
Technology.
She's muted again, so yeah, Carol, you need to unmute and we're trying to figure out the volume.
They come down.
Oh, she went away. I don't know where she went.
How much will our tax increase at our farm north of Decorah? How much will our tax increase at our farm? That's from Carol Dow.
Well, we don't know the total tax increase. This is the county's share only. So if her value doesn't change and our levy rate is going down, her taxes will actually decrease.
The county
The
taxes.
county share of the taxes. I don't know for what her valuation is going to be next year, and I don't know what the other taxing entities likely with, if that's in the Decorah School District anyway, because of that bond issue, her taxes will increase due to that, which will be more significant than what ours is going down.
Yeah, farm is in that district.
But the valuation might have gone up with rollbacks and different things. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean a 10% increase in your valuation is gonna raise your taxes 10%.
That's true. So at this point, we don't know how much people's tax bills will be next year, because that includes all of the taxing entities. We can only talk about ours.
Oh, she's back on now, Ben. Do you want to repeat what you just said so Carol can hear you? Carol, we have an answer to your question. I saw it in the chat.
The county's levy is going down about 6 cents per thousand. So depending on what your valuation is, if that didn't change, then your taxes, the county share of your taxes will go down. That's what we know. We don't know if you're in Decorah School District, your school district share will go up because of the bond issue, but that's a separate entity and they have their own public hearing. So we're only talking about the county share, which is going down.
Based on your own valuation.
Yes.
Valuation numbers come from the assessor, and we do not have any of those yet.
And that's regulated by the state. The assessor has nothing to do with it. He gets his orders from the state and that's what they go off.
He has numbers that he has to go by from the state, and he has to be within several percentage.
5%.
Within 5% of those numbers, or everything is, in the county is called in question, if I'm correct. in
Yep.
that.
And
Carol, just a second. Carol, we cannot hear you. Did you hear Ben's answer? He answered the question? Okay. Thank you.
And have they set the ag land valuation formula yet? I mean,
No,
No,
so,
that
which is,
doesn't usually happen too. We don't usually get it's called assessment limitations. Most people call it rollbacks. We don't get that information until October. So we don't really know what the new assessment limitations are yet.
said the land is based off profitability
Yep.
over 5 years.
Multiple factors that weigh in on that. All right, are there any other questions or comments from the public?
Motion to close the public hearing?
second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is over.
The next item is to set the public hearing for the actual budget. So I've got that penciled in at 9:30 on the 28th, I think I put in there.
Yes.
I move to approve setting the budget hearing for April 28th.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to set the public hearing for April 28th at 9:30 a.m. Is a resolution.
Aye.
Shirley?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also passes unanimously. All right, moving on, we have a few miscellaneous items. First of which is a resolution authorizing and approving an amended and restated loan and disbursement.
Agreement and amended and restated general obligation sewer improvement bond. All in one long thing.
Yes.
This is the Festina sewer project. We've got all of the bills paid, all of the financing done, and as you know, they got a loan forgiveness for a big portion of it through the state. And so we have to sign a new agreement and payment program for that. As Steve mentioned earlier, we sign the loan is in our name, but they use the proceeds from their monthly sewer bills to make the payments, so. But it is backed up by the county since they're unincorporated. So I guess it's a resolution approving this new loan and disbursement agreement.
Move to accept the resolution.
Second.
The motion is second to accept the resolution on the loan and disbursement agreement. General obligation sewer improvement bond. During further discussion. Is a resolution.
I,
I,
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also passes unanimously.
Several things here you need to sign this. Should get it. Actually, this is the disbursement. Closing certificate.
Special project.
All right. Next item on the miscellaneous is a solution support agreement for FY26.
Okay, for this solution, this is the company that provides our software that we use for accounting and real estate in the courthouse. It goes across multiple offices, the assessor, the auditor, the engineer, the recorder, the treasurer, and then some other specialty items like on-demand printing and scanning interface and so on. So there is an increase this year. We had a locked-in price for the last 5 years, which seemed really good, but then we get all the increase all at once now because it's the 6th year. So it works out to be a 4% per year increase, but we're getting it all right now in one big chunk. So it goes from 37,000 to 46,000.
How long is this agreement?
This is a 1 year at a time, and I think it's probably better rather than just locking in and doing one big increase. If you just do a little bit each year to keep up rather than trying to do it that way, but. So I'd like action to approve this.
I move to approve the solution support agreement.
I'll second that.
The motion is second for the solution support agreement for FY26. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
I think our IT director will probably stop the services elsewhere next year to see if we have any better options.
Right now, that I know of, it's right. There's only two companies that are providing this kind of software in Iowa. There's a third one that's starting up. I don't want to be the test county, but you know, if they have good success over the next year, it's something we can look at.
Next item in the miscellaneous, discuss public health funding and program coordination.
This has to do with the chart I updated and handed out. It's here. Next one. Back to get it updated with the new fiscal year 26 budget numbers, so that's what I did. Yes. I don't know what, if anything, you want to talk about on that, but
I'd like to see it direct the Board of Health to pursue and find if there is a possible agreement that can be achieved with both Wynn Medical and with Gunderson Healthcare. Because I remember, if you recall from the presentation that Krista made to us, two of the other counties that are using hospital-based are using Gunderson as their solution, both Clayton and I believe it's Fayette. Talking to one of the health board members in Fayette County, and he said that system has worked out very well for them. You can see that they have a total expenditure in Fayette of $122,000 compared to our $481,000. And I think if there is success in those two counties, we owe it to our populace to pursue and find out why or what is there possible savings that we can make. If you look at the chart that we had last year, or that were given out for the services provided by each county, those other counties are providing very similar things. WinMed is not a solution provider in those other two counties. That's either Howard County uses their own hospital and Almaquee uses their own hospital. But I think we're doing a disservice, and if we do not explore that and get an answer from both WinMed and direct the health board, that's their responsibility as a governing board to pursue that. Andy can assist them, but I think we need to direct them in that process.
Well, Bob, as you mentioned, but more importantly, Gunderson, because we've already been pursuing with WinMed, but maybe haven't got conversation with Gunderson yet either, so.
I'd like to, as we have these discussions into the next several months or year, there's a lot of unknown at the state level of what's going to happen with public health across the state in the future with the regionalization of services. But what I do want to say is for Winneshiek County Public Health, I don't want to see us lose any services in this discussion either, including the Happy Feet Clinic, radon testing, loan closet where people can go and get a wheelchair or crutches if they need it, or a scooter for if you've had knee surgery. Those are really expensive things, and we have a loan closet here in the county for that. Not all counties have it. Stop the bleed training, vision screening, immunizations, flu, COVID, RSV, shingles, immunization cards that are given out, nursing, medical sharps disposal. They did over 605 pounds this past 9 months. STI confidential testing for people, communicable disease investigations, home health visits, homemaking visits. We have a lot of services offered through our public health that I really don't want our community to lose in this whole conversation. So let's all keep that at top of mind as we go through this process and think about who we are as a county, what we offer as a county, who we take care of as a county, and where our ethics and morals lie, and make sure that we cover everybody. I don't want to lose that. I'm not saying we can't look at some partnerships and combinations, but let's not lose what we have already in this county. Other counties may not have in working with their hospital.
I would agree with Steve that we urge the health board to move forward and figure out what can be done for us.
I think we direct the health, not urge. I mean, they are an appointed board from us, and we have all authority to give them direction. There are services that are being provided that are not necessarily a service that the state requires. That may be fine and good, but we also have to justify to our public anywhere from $350,000 to $400,000 difference in our cost versus other counties surrounding us. So we're the ones just talking about our levy rates and our budget numbers and the rest of that. And I believe it's valid that we pursue all of these options so that we do the best service for our citizens that we can. And that includes not necessarily eliminating services. If we have services that are not required, they're a desire and a want, but not necessarily something that we are required to provide.
Again, I think our county appreciates our services and this is a community. And it's in the budget that we'll be having a hearing on at the end of April to cover those services.
I have a question. With all of these counties, are they all providing the same services?
No,
And do you have like a sheet that we can
There
see?
is, it was passed out
A couple of
last
weeks.
week and the week before that describes the services provided by each of these counties' public health boards. And these cost numbers go with that same list.
this is the one they're talking about.
Okay.
They don't provide all the same services that are available in our county
And we don't provide some later because we are uncertified now.
because we lost staff when they realized we may be cutting the program.
So can you get a copy? Where do you get a copy of that?
I can make copies after the meeting if you'd like.
I'm making some right now.
Thank you.
Ben is,
Ben is
Same
making
thing
it right now.
right now.
Thank you.
I think the front page of the NACO newsletter today, measles outbreak underscores rural healthcare challenges. I mean, I think that definitely relates to a strong public health department. Health.
And to be clear, our local hospitals are for profit. They work with paying customers. Unless you have something paying it, the services aren't there for you. That's where public health can step in for a lot of people in this community. When we start talking about cutting services, we got to be totally transparent about what we're talking about. I don't think there's services that our public health offers right now that this community would want to see cut. If we ask our hospital to do it, don't kid ourselves. It's going to be expensive. I don't think we're going to get by with what, and I want to find out, I don't think we're going to get by with getting the same amount of services we have now for less money if we go to a for-profit hospital. That's not how they operate. So I would like to keep our public health department up, running, available to folks in this community. They touched over 5,700 people through immunizations and home health care and homemaking over the first 9 months of this fiscal year. So it is affecting a lot of people and we do need community public health.
But it is a question that we need to ask. Is it possible that the hospital can provide these at a cost savings too?
Like I said, there, maybe the private sector, certain things can take it over.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Relieve us of the staffing issue. Interesting, the number of staff that Chickasaw has is compared to us.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's all full-time, part-time, how that all works, I don't know.
the breakdown.
Well, and-
So I think a lot more
Well, it'd be,
investigation needs to happen about
Remember, Mark,
details.
that Chickasaw decided that they couldn't afford it either and cut their public health budget 25%, which is not reflected in this.
It does, it is.
It is,
Is
it
it?
is, yeah.
So
They're
they were at 15 and they're going down to 12 and have cut.
12, and they're basically
They've cut
around
three.
the same cost as what we are. So we have,
They're 470 and last year they were at 550 something.
550.
so I think we need to look a little deeper in.
They got 12 employees and we got 8 and our budget's higher than theirs.
That's why I'm saying we need to look so deep, just a little deeper.
Well, we don't, when we have services that we're providing that the state does not mandate, and it's very difficult to, I'll use the example that Krista gave us of providing AIDS testing at Luther College. Every student that goes to Luther College is required to have health insurance. There's a clinic at Luther College, staffed by WinMed with a support staff. And Krista did not want the students to have an insurance bill as part of her stated reasons. We didn't need to go up there and there's excess services that we're providing that are not something that I think the public would be really happy with. Because everyone is looking at their tax bill. Everyone is worried about what it's costing them, and they write 2 checks every year. And we've got to be able to, that's our job to justify it.
Our public health does, STI is the same thing as STD testing, sexually transmitted diseases is what that means. And if that's not done confidentially, people will hesitate to go, including teenagers in this town, including adults in this community. if it's not confidential, they'll hesitate to go, and then you're looking at larger healthcare costs later and spread. If they can do it confidentially and not have it show up on insurance for their spouse to see or their parents to see, that makes a huge difference in our community's health. It's an essential piece of public health.
Maybe they should all have skin in the game too, to, you know, saying, hey, I gotta take responsibility for some of that stuff yourself. And skin in the
Yep,
game.
that's why they're going to get tested.
Yeah, but they should have responsibility for costs too a little bit.
Yeah, they can pay for it. Yeah, I agree. It ain't the county's problem that they're
Kristen,
doing
you
what
wanna
they're
speak to
doing.
this?
Stand up and take responsibility for yourself and pay for it.
State code says that if they provide private services, that they're to charge appropriate rates for them. We haven't been.
So that would also translate to the K through 12 private schools that we provide services for.
And that's not necessarily something that we should be doing.
Revenue brought in the first 9 months for public health is about $140,000. And the actual expenses for the first 9 months of this fiscal year were about $374,000. So they are bringing revenue in. They're not providing everything free.
Those
The majority of that is grants.
is grant money.
Thank goodness.
And the numbers on this chart are net costs. It's the
Yeah.
expenses minus revenues, so.
So
Pay attention. I don't want the community to lose services.
All right. Do we need a motion to direct the Board of Health?
You want to make one?
I make a motion with direct the Board of Health to pursue possibility of an agreement for them to provide public health services with both of our medical providers in Winneshiek County.
I would prefer if we put action on the agenda for next week if we're gonna make a motion. It just says discussion.
Discussion. Okay, action. Put it on next week's agenda. Withdraw the motion.
Thank you. We will skip over the next miscellaneous item here to move on to Riverview Center, the Proclamation of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Come on up.
My name is Kelly Cornwell. I'm the Rural Services Coordinator for Riverview Center. Do I read this or do you?
You can read it.
Okay, and then do you guys have a copy that's signed or do you need?
I will sign. it.
Okay.
They will.
All right, so Riverview Center is a sexual assault advocacy agency that covers Northeast Iowa. We cover 14 counties. We have 4 brick and mortar offices, one of which is here in Decorah. And we serve, as far as advocacy services, everything from at the hospital, one-on-one advocacy if an assault happens and a victim wants us there. We help with legal advocacy, helping them maneuver the legal avenues if that's something that they decide that they want to do. We work with peer support services. We set them up with an advocate one-on-one. The advocates in this area can come to the victim's home. They can come to a public area. The victims can come to our local offices. If they need more than, say, the peer support services, then we can also set them up with trauma therapy services. We are free. We are confidential. We serve anyone in those counties, the 14 that we are assigned to. The only requirement is someone identifies themselves as a survivor of sexual assault. Like I said, we are free, we are confidential. We can help someone, we can stay involved as long as maybe just they need someone at the hospital with them, or we can work with them, you know, afterwards. Say maybe up to a year if they're still needing the peer support, they're needing advocacy. The assault can have happened anytime in someone's life. It doesn't have to be something that has just happened in the most recent past. It can be something that has happened 20 years ago. As I indicated, there's only one criteria, somebody identify as being a survivor of sexual assault. So that means we work with the senior citizens population. We work with folks that may be in a nursing home. We work with folks that may have a physical disability. We are there for any and everyone that may need our services. And so April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so I have come to read the proclamation. And so, whereas sexual assault affects women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And whereas, in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, sexual assault may also have associated consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, eating disorders, and suicide. And whereas sexual assault can be devastating not only to the survivor, but also to the family, friends, and community of the survivor. And whereas, since no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, supporting survivors and their significant others, and support those agencies providing services to survivors. Now, therefore, we the Board of Supervisors in and for Winneshiek County, on behalf of all staff and citizens of Winneshiek County, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness.
I move to approve the proclamation.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation to make April Sexual Assault Awareness Month. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And though I don't want to say we look forward to providing services, because we know that we provide a service that ideally would not be necessary in our communities, but it is. And so it's our pleasure to be able to help as many people in your area as we can.
Is the statistic still 1 in 3 women
Yes, ma'am.
will experience sexual assault in their life?
Yes, ma'am.
1 in 3. So just look in this room right now. 1 in 3.
And then there's also a male statistic. You recall that what that is?
The last that I had looked at was 1 in 7 males
What I heard.
would experience throughout their lifetime. Yes.
Yeah, who funds it? You said it's, who pays for the,
We have federal grants, we have state grants, we have private fundraising.
And the county funds,
so, county tax?
some does.
Some, a small. Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Yep, the handout from earlier with the budget showed that.
Oh, it's out there somewhere.
And then
My copy.
the second page on the front shows Riverview Center had requested $8,500 and granted $8,500 next fiscal year from the county.
From the county.
How do people find you?
That's my job. In our urban areas, Cedar Rapids, Dubuque, Waterloo, Decorah is one of, like I said, one of our site locations. We get out, we go to the colleges, we go to community fairs. I go down to assisted living programs, chambers of commerce, Rotary meetings. Anybody that will listen to me, I talk, and our local advocates do more of the local communications with the different areas. We are a phone call away. That I have a brochure. If you need to leave a couple. We are a phone call, whether that's a phone call from law enforcement, whether that's a phone call from the hospital, whether that is a phone call individually. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Individually from our survivor. I get calls from pastors saying, hey, this person in my, congregation, I don't know what to where, you know, like where to send them. And so with us having those 4 locations, we strive to get to a victim within 60 minutes. Whether that's in the middle of the night at the hospital, whether that's them saying, hey, can you come out to my community and meet with me, you know, in 2 days at the McDonald's, or, hey, I can get into your office, you know, on such and such a day next week. Could I meet with an advocate? It's very, very, very survivor centered. They dictate what they want to talk about, what they're interested in, what they need help with, what they don't need help with. They run the show. We are just there to help provide and give that support and guidance based on what we can do for them, or help them find that in their community.
You are a 501c3 charitable organization, so you can give donations to them privately too.
Yeah, there was recently a screening of the movie on human trafficking. Have you come across those issues affecting us at this point in this area?
Absolutely. I was just at a fantastic training in Delaware County 2 weeks ago. I'm from a small rural Iowa town. We are prime locations because no one thinks, oh, there would be traffickers, you know, in Decorah, Iowa, or we've got the universities and colleges around that are very close. If you've got kiddos, just for example, that maybe having issues at home, maybe they're on the run, maybe there's some substance use family doesn't know about, prime picking for traffickers. And when they're in Iowa, they know they're not just going to go to the local bus station, because most of us don't have an active, large population at bus station. But we got people at basketball games. We got people at maybe the YMCA. You know, hey, I can take you to this, you know, I can take you to the city. I can help you make some quick money. Yes, we have a big, it's a big issue in Iowa, much bigger than most people would think.
And if you've got kids or nephews or nieces gaming, police that as much as you can as a parent, because that's where a lot of these connections has to.
Perhaps you could connect with Rochelle Howe over at Upper Explorerland. She'll put on the venue at NICC in Waukon, and perhaps you could set something up in the future and bring in that same speaker into Winneshiek County for awareness. It would be very.
And that was through what organization?
Upper
Explorerland.
Explorerland.
Okay.
Michelle Hall.
Okay, and maybe the contacts here in this office, maybe they're aware, but that's good. I can run that past them and.
Because it was well attended. I'm thinking that there was maybe, well, they had to expand it. It's hard to say. Could have easily been 200 people showed up for the
Upper
speaker.
Explorerland.
Upper
Yes.
Explorerland Regional
Michelle
Plan.
Howe.
I'll give you my card and you can just.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Iowa ranks extremely high as
Iowa ranks number 3 in the nation. Every small town, every community, if you saw that movie, it would shock you to know it. It's a reality today that we're just blind to.
And it would shock you, the users, the people who aren't getting charged or arrested, who are using the people who are in human trafficking.
I'm not sure the status of the bill that's going through the legislature right now to increase the penalties for the Johns, the ones that are using, because it's a big deal. They're slap with a minor. That's without a demand, there's not a need for supply. And it's a shocking, I mean, Shirley saw the movie also, and it is a shocking revelation. And it was a movie that's specifically done on the state of Iowa. Documentary.
and not that many years ago, Fort Atkinson had a business,
Our sheriff dealt with that
You know.
business.
which
Well,
is
yeah.
right there.
And don't kid yourselves, these are people you're sitting next to in the pew at church. These are people who are running some of the businesses in our towns. These are people who are, you know, coaches of teams. It's everybody. Everybody is involved in this at some level. It doesn't matter on socioeconomic status or education level. it's widespread and it's real.
People you least suspect.
And that's on top of the sexual assaults that happen on many women and men, 1 in 7, women, 1 in 3. That's only a piece of that statistic.
What was the name of the movie?
Gridlock,
Gridlock, I think.
I think it's Gridlock.
It's on YouTube or?
You can buy it.
You
I
can
think it's $5.99 per copy
rent
for
a copy
like
of
a
it.
week. You can rent it for a week.
But it is I'd recommend it. Everyone would benefit from seeing it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on, next item on the agenda, Michael Kueny, the county engineer.
Last week, thanks for listening to Mike Schimick. He was present. Yes, he is. One of those.
And we
I need to keep one, yeah.
we thank the secondary roads department for their help in setting the sign up for us and making sure we put it on the right piece of property, et cetera. So thank you, Michael.
That was again, Mr. Schimick.
Oh. Oh. I don't.
For people who don't know what that was, we're selling a building on south of town. The road department helped us and survey it, put a sign up.
So it was a busy office this past week, actually the last couple of weeks. Since the last meeting, Winneshiek County is a finalist for the Bill Grant. This is the same as last week. Railroad flat car bridge study coordination is going to occur this week. That's the same as last week. We are targeting the summer of 2025 for the completion of that test. So subdivision data gathered is the same as last week. Maintenance activities for 2025 are being coordinated. Contract rock beds to be received this week. 6,500 tons per blade. District will be applied this year, plus some high volume roads are being rocked. High volume roads include Conover Road, Town Line Road, part of River Road, Meadowlark Road, and A14.
Next week we'll be accepting bids and on the rock.
That's, yes, correct. Bridge 126 variance was requested 3 weeks ago. We met with the DNR 2 weeks ago. And then last week we met with US Army Corps of Engineers for SHPO clearance. Positive developments for
Those online, please mute your microphone.
Then this can't be on.
No, then they were using the microphone
and then.
all right. So positive developments for the potential variance were in fact discovered with this meeting with the Army Corps of
You want to use
Engineers.
the microphone with the speaker and like you were.
Harold,
It's off again.
okay, thank you.
All right, so fourth week of it, road embargo notifications, 54 permits have been filed. The length of embargo is unknown at this time. I've talked with the foreman and the maintenance supervisor, our superintendent, and we're looking at possibly as early as next week. Lift them. So. The crew will begin 14s on April 7th, 2025. We'll send out an email. Yes, send out an email today informing the crew. And I don't know if I have to approve, if I have to request approval from the board or not on that. So.
I'm in full support.
Yeah, I do.
We believe that's a great advantage for your team.
Yeah, generally speaking, I would agree, specific things, but I would like to request board approval for the giving the crew the Thursday before Good Friday off as a holiday pay. And if that-
So this is varied sometimes. Obviously, you need to give them a different day off. That's true. because they wouldn't be working Friday anyway.
Right.
So
Correct.
it has varied depending on the boards. And sometimes it would before, since we've had the collective bargaining agreement change. Usually we do 8 hours of holiday pay for a holiday.
Mhm.
And so if they do a Thursday and they don't work at all, then there's 2 hours left that they would either have to work on a different day or use vacation or something. That is normally the procedure, although I think that sometimes the board has approved giving them 10 hours off, but I don't, as paid. So that's up to the board, I guess, if you want to, where you want to go with that, or what Michael wants to request. I mean,
I'm requesting the 10 hours on that one, just as a operational, call it simplicity from on my end.
I think there's operational simplicity, but there's a built-in inequity there too, because not everybody's getting
And
a full 10-hour day.
That was why traditionally we waited till after Memorial Day and got done before Labor Day, so we could avoid those two holidays. And it was usually just the 4th of July we had to deal with. Now starting this earlier, you're gonna add at least Good Friday and Memorial Day into this, along with 4th of July.
the idea here is to get them on the 410s and have the advantages work that way. We had success last year with the 410s. As far as, working, I've literally just put this together over the weekend. So I don't have all the background on that, so I apologize not being as prepared on the request as I otherwise might be. But the idea here is that this is a benefit that hopefully encourages them to keep the 410s and keeps them working hard throughout their the summer, and that this could be a carrot as far as years past, the Memorial Day to Labor Day. I've been informed that sometimes other counties and other institutions have used this as a low-cost benefit or a no-cost benefit, as the way they've seen it. I'm following suit here, trying to get the, like I said, operational efficiency sooner rather than later. The nature of manual labor is a little bit different than the clerical work here at the courthouse. So I kind of, the inequities are a little bit, I don't want to say justified is the wrong word, but they kind of make sense. They're kind of harmonious or something like that is how I call it.
Low cost bonus.
It's a low cost bonus. And this is just mostly to get the 410s going is what it's there for. And then us not have to worry about 8-hour days that week versus then what do you do with them on Friday? We have 410s. I make this request. And then shift my schedule around the 10-hour days that way.
Well, let's also consider that oftentimes throughout the winter, we weren't called upon as much this year because we had a lighter snow season, but many times they're called out for emergency snow removal on weekends and so forth during the course of a year. And so this benefit tries to offset some of the birthday parties they missed or holidays they missed or things like that.
I would tend to agree with that. The other odd tree blocking a road in the morning, things like that have also been.
I moved to the room. Do the 410.
I think the way I'm gonna word this is request 10 hours of holiday pay for the road crew employees while they're on the 4x 10-hour schedule. So that'll cover.
All, I hadn't made the request for all, but I'm perfectly comfortable doing that. I had not determined how long the 410s are gonna last yet,
Yeah,
so,
well, if you take them off of the schedule, then that's
Yeah.
your prerogative
okay.
for this year.
How many people in the county are working 40 hours and how many are working 35?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Well, the,
Because you could say, well, maybe everyone that's on a 40-hour week would get the additional two. Make it fair. There's not that many more.
oh, there's one, yeah, the number that work 35 is only the courthouse second floor employees, basically, except for the assessor's office. So I think that's
It's most of it's all except the road department.
less than 20 people that work on the 35-hour schedule.
Also includes public health and the county attorney's office.
So the public health is on a 35-hour work week.
So I mean, majority of people left outside of the road crew are on 35.
No,
No,
there's fewer on 35.
fewer. All year.
You've got all the deputies and jailers and
And the jailers or the deputies work at 44.
they have a different kind of schedule that's.
Schedule.
They get overtime, I think it is. Something like that.
Law enforcement has an exemption to the 40 hours a week rule that looks at a 2-week, 80-hour period. So they have these chunks.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion, yeah.
I'll second
That's
that.
for the road workers.
Yes, there's a motion and a second for the 10 hours of holiday pay during the 4-10 work schedule
For the road department.
for the road department.
And I'll put at the engineer's discretion so that if you decide you want to change it, you can.
Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So next item on the list here is a pull behind sod pulverizer. The Schulte SW800 was purchased this week with Department 19 funds from Franzen Sales and Service. Coordination with the crew and foreman suggest this will be used significantly and will allow us to keep our gravel roads narrow and keep rock out of the ditch.
And if there's any questions on what it does, just go online, put that in there, and you can watch the video.
So
It's
it's,
pretty interesting.
it's,
Let us recapture some of that rock out of the ditch, most probably.
well, I think what it would mostly, in my mind, what it'll do on an operations basis is it'll allow the crew to be more aggressive about bringing that rock on the edge back to the center. And it'll allow it to, so that everything can drain off easier
That'd
and
be what Carlin back.
keep the crown in it. Exactly.
What's the cost of that?
It was $14,600. So,
But if that will also eliminate the curbing, the sodding creates on the side
Yes.
to cause
that's exactly what it
the
does.
drainage problems that cause the extra erosion, that in itself is a big win.
Yeah, it's just, we have to have people to operate it, and that's, they intend to use the mowers, for that. All right, next item. County received 10 applicants for foreman, 9 internal, 1 external. Currently looking at 3 interviewees per maintenance superintendent. The 2 interviews occurred on Friday and 1 will occur today. Please put the award for this position on next week's agenda. I will be interviewing here. All right, next item, Bridge 320 on Pleasant View Road was closed after Chuck Britson inspection on Thursday. Nothing is certain, but we are looking at a new bridge being let before July 1st, 2026. This was planned prior to last week's inspection and its priority moved up from last year as the rate of deterioration in 2024 was alarming. Next week, we will be working with our consultant to see if there is a fix that will allow us to pass 3 tons in the interim. But that is not likely due to there being critical problems with the pin connection at the bearing and many other serious problems elsewhere on the bridge. It just makes it uneconomical to try and fix that bridge is basically what I'm saying there.
That's a larger bridge.
It is a larger bridge. It's Pleasant View Road. It's, northeast, which, it's right off of New Ridge. Yes. So by, yeah, it's a aesthetically looking very pretty bridge and everything. It's unfortunate, but, it's over 100 years old and we have roughly, the easy math is we have 450 bridges that we take care of, and if we get around to 3 of them at a time, it means bridges have to last 150 years. So that's the math. That's simple math.
Yeah. Doesn't work very well.
No, it doesn't. So that's where we're at.
What was that stat again, so the community can hear it? How many bridges?
We have just under 450 bridges that we keep track of, and that if we do 3 bridges per year, that means that the bridges have to last 150 years apiece.
And the average cost per bridge and a rough estimate might be,
Well,
Those 450 include 20-foot long culvert bridges and 150
yeah,
foot river
so
bridges, so you know, it's,
In between 3 million.
Everything in
and-
between.
yeah.
yeah, somewhere between probably about 2 million and 100,000. So trying to get the 100,000 ones done with county funds and then use the federal funds for the big bridges. So and I'll get to more on that bridge at the end here.
The first year we had just a sort of history, but the first year we had infrastructure money. We had a map like that one over there with the road, and they had little sticky notes on there for every closed bridge, and we had 13 or 14 closed bridges. So we started using infrastructure money to put in culverts where we could, those bridges, take those stickers off. So is this our only closed bridge right now then, or are we? Other than
We have
one.
Bridge 307 in Ridgeway area that's on the
Yeah.
2020. Yep,
This program anyway.
it's already programmed, and then now this one's closed and it'll be programmed next year. So let's see, where was it? Okay, right here. I'll have more on that bridge here shortly. Bridge 202 on 135th Street west of Fort Atkinson, and Bridge 249 at the intersection of 312th Avenue and 200th Street east of Potovan have had their road ratings temporarily reduced to 3 tons. Further analysis by bridge inspection consultant will be presented this week, Tuesday this week, I should say.
Are those bridges able to be modified in order to get the?
We think that there's good hope that it's a repair. So Bridge 67, which is just south of Clay Hill Road and River Road intersections on River Road, needs a bridge repair. Secondary roads will meet this week to determine what will be done. That's a similar situation as 202 and 249 with the nuance that if it fails as expected, it just drops a couple inches. So what we're doing is looking at shimming it up, basically at the bearing. How that happens is also going to be determined this week.
So it isn't actually having a weight limit, it's the level of the bridge compared to the road that you're trying to.
Well, we're just trying to ensure that it's still right,
Yeah.
smooth,
Yeah.
but if it doesn't, we can rock it over in the interim. So it's also pretty critical with the,
High volume road.
it's a high volume road that it's, yeah. The DOT rejected the first submittal of 2026 budget. Small edits will be made and resubmitted today or tomorrow. Bridge crew opening has been posted to the public for equipment operator 1. This will be an important position to fill this summer. We have lots of work to do for our bridge crew, especially early on. So,
And if you hire from within for the foreman, well, that will create yet another.
look, I can go ahead and bring that up right now. Looking at possibly, because we'll have 3 positions open. interview and just have those interviews that we do for each of the positions transfer to any of the positions.
Yep.
I don't know from a union perspective if that works or not, so that'll save me a lot of time.
You probably have to offer internal transfers first, but before you get to interviewing new people, if you're asking for 1 or 2 or 3, I think.
We're looking at 3 right now.
But you have 9 applicants for the one position, that maybe some of that will be able to be used elsewhere perhaps.
Yeah, and some of those, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it wasn't, off the top of my head, I think that the title of the position is the same on 2 of them.
Then that's easier than if you advertised it as a you'll probably have to redo it for a new title, but.
I'll just work with John on that then.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're all on the clear on that.
Yep.
An equipment operator 2 position is open internally for the rubber tired excavator machine. It's also known as a scoop. So that's the other one. That's depending on how if the internal works first or not, whether or not we
And you
hire
might
externally for the.
might be able to, depending on what stage you are, if you're advertising externally, you could put in the ad an application that you're accepting applications for equipment operator 1 and equipment operator 2 and do them together that way. But with the ones you've already printed, if it said equipment operator 1, you're probably.
Yeah, we might reach out to them and just sign and say, hey, that's gonna be a discussion with John, I think.
Yep.
Roadside mower position currently has 10 applicants. The optimum number of mowers is being mowed between the engineer, shop foreman, maintenance superintendent, and foreman. I think we're gonna go with 5. So we're gonna have five people on staff. They'll operate as mowers and then use this new piece of equipment to keep the roads tidy. So those are the things that I am anticipating they do.
Would you anticipate needing more than one of this new equipment if you, then will they?
No, because you coordinate all of that with a blade operator, so it's not, that operation it doesn't work by itself. You have to have, you set a stretch of road, and then you have the blade run, and then you have a couple of passes with the pulverizer, and then you blade everything back in and it sets back down.
Watch the video.
Okay.
So, let's see, the SS4A grant meeting was held Monday on the courthouse jury room. The Iowa County Engineers Association paid for a consultant to review the data and present material on where the county's most hazardous spots are. This was done for 97 of the 99 counties in Iowa. Consultation with the public and more private with the engineering staff with specific problems areas were done. The engineer will submit to the board the findings upon receiving a final document from the consultant. So staff, towards the end of the meeting, highlighted, for instance, 220th and 227th on B32. We wanted to do things like that at the end. So it is on their agenda. So new computers were provided to some of the staff this week by the IT department. At least 2 more computers will be provided to the engineers department. Which is one of those things where we had a lot of things being hit from a lot of different angles. Jeff Peel situation is being administered. It's the same as last week. Nessie Valley coordination, further coordination to occur this week. Staff and superintendent met with Camline Highway Markings on Thursday for striping in calendar year 2025.
Just what was the cost per mile? We did all this. Cost per miles to. Right, I mean.
Oh, the stripe?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the stripe. I can tell you the project cost total. per mile roughly. I can get you that number to be about just under $50,000 a mile. No, for the whole auto seal and everything else. I can't remember the striping portion of it, sorry. And I don't have Camline's numbers with me. We're gonna be, their total bill is gonna be high enough that we have to get quotes elsewhere. And we're working on that today as we speak. It's being worked on. But they were very impressive. They've been a long time contract for the county. FEMA category A is being held up on the FEMA side and environmental and historic preservation due to staffing. Cat C is in the process of being obligated. Expected reimbursements are the following. Cat A is $49,562. Cat C is $106,122. And then Cat Z, which is the administration on our end, is to be determined. The contract to have Corbin establish a new geoid and coordinate system has been signed. I consider this to be one of those unfunded mandates pushed onto local governments by the state and federal government. Coordinate, and then we'll have to coordinate with the IT department on that.
Would you explain to our visitors what you mean by an unfunded mandate in this situation? How it affects your budget?
So in this case, this is a geoid, which is a surveying instrument that tells us elevations and horizontal locations to within 100th of a foot. The net benefit to us is we're not sure, other than we are following a law that says that we can no longer operate on what is known as a state plane coordinate system. And it's not known to me the real benefits that it provides
This one is
taxpayers
unmuted.
in Winneshiek County.
You cannot.
Similar things like this are happening on the bridge inspection side of things, where they make things far more complicated. This may or may not help the federal government keep track of the bridges as a whole for data purposes. But the whole cost of it is being forced upon by us here at the county. So things like that are stuff that we can end up dealing with. And then this is a $10,000 contract to go measure 4 corners of the Winneshiek County based off of new assumptions towards the center of the earth, and all of our projects will be done done in this new coordinate system. And I don't know how much it's going to change, distances, but we're talking about fractions of a fraction of an inch, horizontally speaking. So it's
a $10,000 cost for something that you don't expect much benefit.
we get there's no real benefit
Required
for
by
us.
higher levels of government.
Yep, and whether it's the bridge inspection, we have the oversized overweight permit is another example of an unfunded mandate where we have to load rate things because a higher weight limit's allowed on these bridges. All that's just it's just stuff that we have to deal with. But this one came to my desk not last week, but the week before, and I signed a contract for compliance reasons last week. So next item. Engineer, I pulled 2 of the tandem trucks off the trade-in agreement with Don's Truck Service. This was done with the grace of Don's. ISA, an auctioneer, has guaranteed a minimum of $11,000 net payment to the Winneshiek County versus the $10,000 trade-in credit from Don's. The two trucks ISA will be auctioning are now out of service with the county, though they are stored at the main shop. The trucks are equipped with full-time road standers, which is not great for hauling and other general county applications. Basically, the deal is we house them at our shop and they guarantee a price. If that's better than a trade-in that we can get, then we say, okay, you can do it. This is my first time operating with this auctioneer. It's a kind of a trial, so I'm not certain that things are gonna work great. But if it does, this is, I think, a benefit to the county and generating a little bit more reimbursement value for our used services. It's not like I said, it's kind of exploratory. And then we were strategic with these full-time sander trucks. Something else new that came up with Dunn's. The engineering department will be paying Dunn's truck service for truck chassis in April rather than in May, which was the original agreement. This is due to the earlier than expected chassis delivery to Dunn's. The reason this is significant is it's over $600,000, and it's just going to be making sure that Ben and I are talking on the road transfers. Everything should be just fine, but it's kind of a big deal.
You'll have the majority of your money by mid-April because taxes are due in March, so some years there's hardly any left to collect in May, so.
Yep, that's something you know better than me, and that's on my mind of things that I want to talk to you about. But like, there should be plenty in the coffers to not worry about it. On Wednesday, the engineer presented via email the board a best argument for putting in additional administrative position within the county pay matrix. I noticed that earlier today you decided to discuss salaries and pay matrix. You skipped that. Yeah. So I don't know if that needs to happen now that I talk about that or not, but I might work with Ben then and figure out what we need to put on the next week's agenda for that.
I think if you want to discuss it now, it can be.
Yeah, I sent the board like I said, I sent the board the email. And if there's any questions regarding that email, I can take those now.
I don't have any questions from the email, but I certainly appreciate and support your point of view on increase. And the title.
The title.
I would second that.
Okay.
That was an emotion, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's.
He sent the email on Wednesday.
Yep.
And then I, on Thursday, kind of recapped the current boundaries recommended and Michael's request. And so, I'm guessing
Is that something that we move forward on next week then, as an action item, or is that?
They can do it now if they want. I mean, that's up to you though. I mean, that's up to you and the board to decide if you want to do it now or not.
I would like to see us take action on it, and I move to take action. I move to adopt the title and the salary level that Michael presented to us in an email. What little local control we have left as a county, I think it's okay to grab this one by the horns and go with it.
With Condor's amount?
No, Michael's request.
I think that's a wise idea.
No, because we've already run into problems with that already. From recycling. Can't just put another position in there, which we're gonna have. It's gonna open up a can of worms that everybody's gonna be.
We can change the positions changed in the way that it's being looked at.
That very different.
Was there a second or was it just?
I'm with what Convery I'm with what Convery.
The motion,
Associates.
Motion is to approve Michael's request for the job title and salary, and Shirley made it.
I made the motion.
And I don't
There's no
know.
Second.
And these positions have been underpaid for too long. It's time to do this right.
Definitely there's a big disparity in their pay as compared to comparable.
Well, I think the point Michael is making is there's not a comparable position.
I mean,
There, yeah.
given the amount of work and hours they're putting in.
I'm looking at it is if we are sticking to the matrix as Congress has recommended for all the other positions, that we should honor that and stick to that same amount for this position, with the upgrade that Congress evaluated.
I think it's a matter of.
They evaluated the upgrades was what they were presented and that's what they gave us.
So on
What's the disparity?
on the Condrey side of things, I feel like the issue that I have with the Condrey is they look at it as a senior administrative assistant position. And so I think if I'm just being completely honest, they did not evaluate or give fair evaluation to the idea that this is not just an administrative assistant position. It's something that is a counselor, as an advisor, is very much a position where someone takes action with limited supervision and has consequences that the whole department feels. That is consistent with other counties, such as Clayton and Fayette County. Fayette County runs a engineering department very similar to ours. I've consulted with Joel there quite often, and I think that is. I think if you need a comparable, that's as good a comparable as you can, and the request there lines up with their situation almost identically. The two, both assistants, the hourly rate is within pennies of each other, and yeah, to me, internally we have the administrative assistants, and then unbeknownst to any of us, and it's not in any contract, there's a senior position, which doesn't quite get us there, and it leaves limited room for growth. And then there's nothing higher than that, and quite frankly, much of the decision making prior to my arrival was kept afloat by the two administrative assistants.
One of the things that was discussed in the past was, and there was an option of having Conry occasionally come back in and evaluate market changes in positions, period, throughout the matrix. And in light of the questions that arise in numerous areas, and even requests that have come to me over this whole situation outside of the engineering department, I'm wondering if we are not in the discussion of pay rates in matrix, do we need to, since those numbers are at least 3 years old, maybe 4 years old, do we need to look at the marketplace different, look at the unemployment statistics differently, and see, are we correctly on the same page or not? I think that's something that we probably need to explore.
Yeah. I would think for this specific one, I think that's what they've done here. And that's why they've made the recommendation. But I think in general, they're going to tell you that you're behind again, because when you implemented the pay matrix, the time of implementation, you did the cheapest one. And then you haven't kept up with the numbers they recommended each year for cost adjustments. So they're going to tell you that you're behind. Now, if you aren't planning to implement it, I don't know if it's worth paying them to do another analysis.
Yeah.
If you aren't planning to implement what their suggestion is. So
Well, we've got a big gap between deputies and other staff and all of those issues that come up in the overall, overall conversation from employees. So what are we gonna do to, or are we gonna do something to help mitigate that?
I think probably our biggest problem here is the lack of definition of the classification of the responsibilities of what these two positions are doing compared to other deputies, 40 hours, 35 hours, other people in the courthouse that are working. As he said, the responsibilities they take on. But we can look at it but Conry doesn't work in the office.
Comparing it to the treasurer's office, for example, they have on the matrix, they have a administrative assistant, a senior administrative assistant, and then they have a deputy that's not on the matrix. So they have 3 different ranks of pay depending on, and then once you're a deputy, that can range to be paid less than a senior administrative assistant up to 80% or 85% of the elected official salary. So they have 3 ranks of growth. And I think part of Michael's point is that there isn't a 3rd rank of growth in the engineer's office. So that's part of his request, is that we're adding this 3rd level, but that isn't, Conry didn't agree with it. So that's where you guys need to make your decision.
And Conry's recommendation has a $5,400 a year raise.
Plus they get the 3% in July.
But it's keeping it inside of that confined box that doesn't allow for that higher level position.
Yeah, their recommendation doesn't allow any growth of income beyond the next step to the right on that matrix. That they have 1 step on the right that they can
They have 1
increase.
matrix step. Yeah, based on this recommendation, they'd have 1 more matrix step for years of service, and they'd have just the annual percentage rates after that.
And I'm asking to reset that.
And I will say that when the board did adopt this last pay matrix, we went from before this, we had an 15 or 18 year, we had fewer columns. So you added to 24-year columns. So you added some more columns that we didn't have before. That was a positive in the last matrix change. We also had 2 positions that had been removed from the old matrix because you couldn't get anyone hired to fill at the matrix position. But when we adopted the new matrix and the adjustments were made with the new matrix, they went back into the matrix because it had corrected those positions. So you don't have anyone right now outside the matrix.
There's an active motion on the table.
One more, there's no second.
Right.
Can we discuss the difference in what Conry proposed and what Michael proposed?
You could discuss that now. You should really have a second before doing so much discussion, but you've already discussed quite a bit. I mean, I think if this one fails for lack of a second, I think you could make another motion and it's different and see if you get a second and continue your discussion.
I don't have them in front of me.
Oh, you just want to know the numbers?
Yeah.
$3,000.
Pardon?
It's
$3,023.
the current rate they currently are at 52,511. Andre recommends going to 57,963, and Michael's request is putting them at 59,412. The July 1 currently, without any changes, is 54,087. If you go with Condry's recommendation, they get the 3%, so 59,701. Michael's request is both 3% and a change in columns, so they'll go to, it ends up being a 5.5%, so 62,724.
And the net result over Condry's is $3,023.
Yeah, $3,023 in July 1 more times 2 employees. So we aren't talking a lot of dollars.
$250 a month.
What you're really talking about here is the process and whether what you want to do with that.
I would just like to say that, just let me quick get this in. Michael's would put them at 62,724
Yep.
at 40 hours a week.
Mhm.
That is below all but one or two. It's below all but one of the deputies in the courthouse. Significantly below, and the deputies all work 35 hours a week. I think we need to do right by these positions. It's been a long time coming. It's been, that can has been kicked down the road by other boards of supervisors. It's time to do the right thing here.
And what I'll say to all of this, because one of my whole purpose on this is you're paying for excellence is what you're doing. You're paying for someone who has been in the road department for a long time, knows the road department better than I do, and is a confidant, and I find that to be a way to keep the good things that we have going in the department. So I think I have one more bullet point that's going to be a pretty long bullet point coming up, and I'll kind of give you an example of why I think this is a fantastic department. And you have two of the lowest paid individuals in the department. Who might want to compensate. That's how I look at it.
Are there your public frontline?
Most of the time, for most things, yes. And so it's, yeah, I think that they operate things before I get to see them and set them up so that I can have success with the interactions that I have. So very vital to my.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
And I will say, I mean, I believe the matrix is there for a reason, but I think the matrix doesn't allow us to deputize people to that other level, as other elected officials can deputize people.
Question is, you're concerned about longevity still, although you may, you could lose one of those employees at any point in time. That's a realistic assumption. But is there an upward path or another level of achievement within your office as you look at the structure of your office and the plans that you have for the next 5 years as the structure changes and you fill in some of the blanks? How do you see this going on a global sense, Michael?
Okay, so we have the county engineer. We have 2 assistants to the engineer, which are promoted from technician. And we have a county surveyor. And we have 2 administrative assistants. What I'd like to have, because our assistants to the engineer are not, they don't have the prerequisites to get a professional engineer's license. I need an assistant engineer. That assistant engineer that I hire, presumably in a year or so, will be taking on the duties of the administrative assistants, a significant portion of them. And then one of the administrative assistants, I'm gonna just put it in quotes, will retire. And that's the plan. I've talked about that in previous board meetings. I've talked about it privately, I think with all 5 of you at some point. What that tells me is that it is imperative based on the job of the secondary roads department to have an assistant engineer do the administrative work. We will be paying an engineer assistant, a PE qualified engineer's assistant more than the money that I'm proposing there. And, you know, I don't know about fair and everything else, but this tries to kind of correct that in and of itself.
If I may, so you're thinking some number of years down the road, you would have an assistant engineer and one administrative assistant.
That is, yes, the seven person department down to 6 and holding that 6 as a long-term solution.
So in the interim, you're thinking the two current administrative assistants, due to their longevity, should be office managers so that you can keep them as long as you can, so you don't have to be put
Correct.
into a position to transition to this other plan right away.
Well, and so that they can onboard. I mean, we will have a year of onboarding for the assistant engineer
To learn.
to learn what it
These
is.
pieces.
Yes, so
So it is all part of a larger plan that you have.
it is very much
It's not
so.
just
It would be fair to say
willy-nilly, oh, I want to have.
I want to be 100% clear.
With these
I'm
two,
trying to right size the whole department, and, you know, I also often get asked why we need so many workers and everything else, and I'm trying to be as frugal as I can at the top first. But I can't have poor employees at the top and try to work with that.
you wouldn't anticipate that if at some point as these two people retire or quit or whatever, that you would be replacing them with a new office manager. You would probably go back to an administrative assistant at that point, assuming you have a assistant engineer there to pick up these other duties.
The way I anticipate this happening, and I'll just give, in 2 years, I will expect to have a retirement announcement. Before those 2 years, I will know about this and then request that I find an assistant engineer position. So that will be a request coming down the road. After that, we will have, call it an office manager. And then nobody else for the administrative branch. When she retires, the idea is that we bring on somebody brand new because we've already onboarded the assistant engineer extremely well, and they started
At
the
the
at the very low position of administrative assistant. That is the idea.
And if they prove themselves and several years down the road, they get promoted to senior administrative assistant, that's something you address at that time.
Yes, and if they are capable and everything else, I don't intend to promote just because you exist. So, but so there is that there's that element to my discretion there as well.
I would like to commend you, Mike, for two things. This is being financially responsible with the taxpayers' money to have this plan in place. It's a good long-term plan. And the second piece is that you're taking care of really good employees and you're working within the confines of our budget. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is prudent succession planning that needs to happen.
Yes.
You know, to keep a flow of this department going to meet the needs, because we don't want to be in the position of being the #1 complaint in the county of roads and bridges. And you're still doing it within the appropriation that we work with every year. We're limited to, and that's what we have to do.
And he's also operating without an assistant engineer,
Right.
which is rare.
I have 2 amazing assistants to the engineer, and I'm very happy with my staff. So it's,
So am I.
and the county surveyor as well. So they don't leave them out.
The whole team.
Well, we have a motion and a second to set the wage at 59,412, correct then?
Yep, with the July one going to 62,724.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And my reason for opposition is we're gonna open up a can of worms in the matrix. Everybody's gonna come in now. They're gonna create more, we need more job
I agree.
descriptions.
Congress gonna, we've got a lot of, and it still comes down to a 35 and 40-hour week disparities and the rest of that. So
Yeah,
we'll
get out of the matrix altogether and forget about it.
we've got to have more discussion on this.
All right, let's move on. What do you have to,
Got one more bullet point that'll take a little bit, but just want to address the things that have kind of come to my desk the last couple of weeks. Numerous complaints of gravel roads and a lack of rock has been noted by the engineer. Engineer advises the board that the price paid for the rock by Winneshiek County for granular material is much higher than Almaquee, Clayton, and Fayette counties. This is due to private market conditions and no Mississippi River dredging operation being geographically close by. Engineer further reminds all citizens and the board that roughly 1/3 of operating budget goes to payroll and 1/4 of the operating budget goes to this granular material. Secondary Roads Department now has more than 10% of its staff move on to better opportunities within the past year. This does not include retirements. All 4 of these employees were and are, one of them was last day was on Friday, and one of them's last day will be next week. We're great employees. Thus, I want to share an example this week of how the excellent people have staffed within Secondary Roads Department happened. So upon finding out that Bridge 320 was to be closed on Thursday, the text was sent by me immediately before the team's meeting had finished. The maintenance superintendent simply responded with K, also before the team's meeting had finished. The road foreman and crew were done with the closure signs within that hour. We looked up the amount of funding we put towards this bridge in our DOT approved 5-year plan. It was $1 million. Our bridge inspection consultant feels that it is a $1.4 million bridge and has offered to design it. A typical price tag for a bridge design might be 10% of the project. Something like this, maybe a little bit more. Staff does this design in-house. So it's $140,000 right there that the county is saving. This example alone grosses the Winneshiek County taxpayers of $140,000. My point is that I want to use my time at this meeting to reassure that the Winneshiek County citizens are paying that their taxes are paying for a well-run department with lots of talent, and I thank them for the opportunity to serve them in my capacity as county engineer. So, thank you.
Michael, we're doing more of our own internal design work than most or all of the 5 surrounding counties that we are regularly associated with. Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that. My gut feeling is that the northeast corner that we are in has fantastic counties. Based off of the discussions with the DOT, we are in a very competent area of the state. So when we compare ourselves to Howard, Chickasaw, Fayette, Almaquee, and Clayton, we are comparing ourselves. We are setting a bar high, and we are very competitive with them. That is what I can tell you. I can tell you by how I personally feel is that I'm so new to the game that I'm not. I rely on their expertise as much as my own experience. So this is a situation where it takes a village, and we live in a good part of the country for secondary roads.
And we're awful lucky to have all our neighbors being so helpful.
Yes, yeah. Helpful is yes.
It's not just in the engineering department. I mean, amongst us board of supervisors, I'm speaking for myself, and I imagine you have too, reached out to other counties and talked to the supervisors in their counties on certain subjects, and everyone gets along real well.
It's not a competition.
No, by no means.
Joel might make it a little bit. It's all fun.
He's got his own court.
Yeah, I know. It's,
Yeah,
I'm
just
a
roll
little
price
jealous. I'm
different
not
than
gonna,
ours.
I'm not gonna lie on that one. So, yeah, that's the engineer's report.
Any timeline on 165th? Waiting for the frost to come out.
It's 155th. We got pipe coming in.
No, the one that just, with Washington.
Yes, there was something, and they were talking about some pipe coming in. I know that the big pipe across the street had already been put in. I don't know if that was for the driveways or what that was for exactly, but I don't have a definite answer for you. I will look into 165th. Specifically the opening, but I know that there was a couple of things that they were gonna do outside of that to make everyone happy before they opened it up. So I can nail that down a little bit better for you.
Anyone have anything else for Michael?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you.
We want to go back up and discuss salary pay matrix, or do we pass that one up already?
Next week, again.
Okay. Any committee reports?
Another six county meeting on Thursday.
There's these pages over on the table if you'd like them, but Northeast Iowa Community Action met on Monday night. Stats of their various programs are on this sheet. If you're not familiar with Northeast Iowa Community Action, they do so much for this county, and they also take charitable donations if you're so inclined. So we do help with weatherization of homes. They do a food pantry. They do the Earl Public Transit System bus. There's just a lot that they do. Head Start programming. So if you're not familiar with them, here's a sheet and you can find them online too.
County Social Services, obviously sunsetting at the end of June. There are certain assets that they have, office furniture, 7 cars, some different property, but anyway, it looks now as though the cars will be offered potentially, gonna get a bid from a dealer, like would they buy all 7 of them? Or if not, then establish a fair market value and the counties want to purchase them because they have a need for a car that has a known background, could do that. The other thing, heads up going forward, is not every, because there will be more counties in these new districts, regions, not every county is going to have an office. And so as of now, there is no plan, but anticipated that every county is probably going to have to potentially have a designated person to deal with the walk-in people that need help. So we need to figure out where that would land potentially, probably with public health, I guess. I don't know. If the auditor wants to take that on, or the treasurer, but those are, it probably,
And it might be something
probably
like,
fits best under the public health thing.
yeah, I mean, public health might be a spot. Otherwise, it might be something you want to talk with Trish as community action. I mean, they're doing we contract with them to provide general relief services. Maybe they want to set up a program where they could provide this contact for the counties they serve, and
So it's just,
small fee or whatever, like we do for general assistance.
it is a heads up, and it is anticipated there won't be any decision by the time it's dissolved, so.
And no money for these extra positions in either
No,
county.
no,
Not from the state.
not at the moment anyway. Anticipated. I sat through 3 different presentations from people above, and none of them, and we had one also with Hawk last week. There is no definitive answer for how this is gonna go forward.
It's a real good plan.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the people giving the presentations because they're fairly higher up trying to administrate this, and there is no directive on how it can go, so.
And they're hiring firing, having to let go of really good couple decades long employees. We saw this.
I think a lot of it is, I mean, none of them have been offered a job. There's 7 different employees, but somebody is gonna have to do those jobs. Maybe not all of them, but some of them, but it'll be interesting how you're gonna hire people to fill those positions.
County service building, yeah, got moved Wednesday, Thursday, got all the desks moved.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Carol, but we can't call on you yet. We're in the middle of a different part of the,
I'll wait till the end of your.
thank you.
We, got desks all moved Wednesday, Thursday, we had a couple county guys come out, that was a little bit early, yeah. They thought they were moving tables and chairs.
They kind of got tricked.
So we got most of that, and now I'm down to, I think they're coming to do that reception window, and we gotta put a security room in the back. I gotta go down and talk to them about that, otherwise we need one more desk in that cubicle desk, or trying to figure out what we're gonna do there. Yeah, that's the only problem. Yeah, there is a used outfit in Des Moines that handles for what's Stony and Kenworth or whatever.
Story Kenworth.
Yeah, so I might, they're supposed to get back with a price on a new one, but I haven't seen that.
There's also that Welters down in Independence or somewhere down around.
Okay, so that's, otherwise it's coming along.
Projected date is the
17th, yeah.
of April.
For them to move in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They shut down the 15th, they'll move shut down the IT, get all that moved, then 17th, they'll have.
Be up and going.
And then we're still on track for having open house / tour at the building on May 1st, after May 1st.
Of the building on South
We're gonna
52.
go out there today, Mark.
I don't know, I'm just gonna go down here today, out there, I won't get out there today, I gotta go down here and talk to these guys.
But the sign looks good.
Yeah,
The for sale sign.
It's on our property, not the right of way.
And all of that information has been posted to the county's website someplace.
Mhm.
Where does that live?
They've made a complete new page for it, and there's a link on the front of the homepage.
Okay, great.
And when we put the information in the press release too, that went out there, where it is. So. And I've been forwarding everything to Stephanie Fromm too, and I haven't heard back if she was gonna try to take all the information and put together like a 1-page synopsis to give potential people available and that kind of bid deadlines and all that.
I also had a Northeast Iowa Behavioral Health meeting. Their children's clinic located on Water Street downtown is open. They are seeing up to 18-year-olds there now, so they're separate from adults. Chrysalis Children's Center.
There's 2 city council meetings this week, Schoolville, Tuesday at 6, Wednesday is Port at 6,
Ours is next Monday.
Next Monday.
Okay. Anything on the budget then?
No, I'll have to publish now for a public notice for the budget hearing that you set today. And you can still reduce things after this point, but you can't raise things after I send it to the newspaper, so.
On that note, can we then, before you send it to the paper and on Monday's agenda, discuss Northeast Iowa Agency on Aging?
You can't do it next Monday. You need to decide that today.
It wasn't on the agenda today.
Well, there's
Would it come
budget
under budget discussion?
And consideration of comments from the public hearing earlier.
I would like to see us revisit their request for funding. They requested, was it 4,700? It's on that sheet.
Did it earlier.
Yep.
So they requested 4,700. Actually made a very good presentation to us on the things that they do for, mainly for elders in this community, with meals. and referrals to the other agencies they work with. All the other counties do give them money around in their service area. Blackhawk County as a county does not, but Waterloo as a city does. So there's money coming to them from every county but Winneshiek County right now, and I think that we need to do something.
The Blackhawk County does, but Waterloo City does. So,
That's what I just said.
yeah, but that is not the county.
Right,
That's not the county's budget.
We did-
That's what I
we did
just
give
said.
them a building.
Is that the motion? Motion
I
to-
move, go ahead.
We gave who a building? We offered them, but they didn't.
We don't want to get into that
Well, we
discussion
didn't
right now.
offer to give it.
Right,
No.
they were paying rent. and we
They're
kinda
renting it
pushed
from.
them out. So I would propose that we,
Yeah,
I would say, take a motion of $4,700 that they've asked for, just like these other entities, for the work that they do in our county.
I think, given the uncertainty of some of the programs going forward, I think they do a great job, and I would also second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to give Northeast Iowa area on the aging.
we would, at this point, you're adding it back into the proposed budget.
Yes. $4,700 in funding. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
All
I,
right,
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion fails.
I would like to make another motion then to consider a lesser amount of $3,000 from Northeast Iowa Agency on Aging if we don't want to do the 4,700. So that we do some amount from our county.
How about we cut it in half?
that's what I suggested previously.
What's that?
Yeah,
3,000?
well, it's 2,500.
Well, the reason I gotta go get a new desk, because they dismantled one and took parts, and I gotta find a new desk, could cost us $3,000 or more. That's my point I stated on it.
Oh,
My motion was for 3,000. I'll rescind that motion and restate my motion with the correction to half of the 4,700 to be. You have that figure? 2,350
I
to
will.
Northeast Iowa Community Action.
I will second that.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanted added into the budget before I publish it? Because that'll go to the paper this year.
Thank you.
You put the 3% increase on the supervisor salary.
All right, consent agenda?
I didn't catch that. What was it?
Yes, if the 3% increase was included on the supervisor salaries. And I said,
It's included in the
What,
budget.
in the budget?
And it
Unless-
is.
And we'd already voted on that.
We
one.
voted on that.
I think we did.
Yep.
Because of-
all I have on consent is minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move to adjourn.
For that, we need to set a special meeting time for this week to discuss the pending litigation.
Close it.
It'll be a closed session, yes.
Tuesday at 2.
Tuesday at 2 work
Yep.
for everybody?
Yep.
That was all I had. Sorry, I interrupted your.
Still got the adjournment.
We have a motion, you second?
You made a
No,
motion. I made a motion.
I'll second.
You second.
Can you hear me? Hello, this is Carol.
Wait a minute, don't adjourn. We did tell her she would have something.
Okay,
You could.
ask Carol.
Sorry, Carol.
Hello, I am so sorry that we've had so much difficulty. I'm 2,000 miles away from you, but I'm coming home to the farm soon. And my big question was, Ben, I think you tried to answer it around my concern for the farm taxes going up. I couldn't quite hear it. Is this meeting recorded that I could listen back?
Yes, The meeting is recorded. If you go on the county's website, it's at the top. There's a link that says watch meeting.
Thank you. I just want to thank you so much
Yeah,
for such a,
it won't be available for a couple hours because they
that's okay. That's
add
fine.
closed captioning, which takes a couple hours of processing. But yeah.
Right, no problem. And I just want to thank you for such a well-run meeting. I have a couple of interests I will be following you to do with very much thankful to the lady who spoke on the sexual assault awareness. That is so good. And other big topic is the medical. And I think Steve and Shirley, that you were talking about future discussion of that. And we're very interested. I'm sure a lot of the community is. And just want to thank you so very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Carol.
We have motion to second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned.
I'll be here for office hours again for the hour after this meeting.
I'm mindful to be available for quick review to talk about what that's happening with the sheriff.
Yeah.
I figured, I just had to ask, so thank you.
Do you have a business card?
I don't on me, no, but
No, I don't have.
I'm the chair of the board website, and there's some contact information there. And for all of us, our phone
No, I
numbers
don't.
are in rows.
just for like at maybe when after it happens and we just don't know, yeah. So- Right, okay. I just wanna.
When you're done.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that. Tarsha. Men's department. Years ago. Thanks for your patience.
Dan, Dan,
Questions.
hey, Dan.
I'm gonna go down and see if I
You
can.
grew up in Austin?
Yeah.
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 I was just ran across a paperback book that is the railroad history of Winneshiek.
No, I haven't. I probably should because I've lived next to the railroad my whole life.
It's got a huge.
Who tomorrow?
Us?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, two railroads with.
See you tomorrow.
Side cars. Yeah. He does a good job. It's not very long.
I'll be willing.
North Minnesota.
Yeah, go ahead. I got nothing to say, so you go ahead.
Testing for, yeah, too. We're looking to, we're putting together a museum in our own city hall.
Sure, sure.
Getting that all put together. So we're
This
kind of
is-
looking for.
Take on it, I've read the Winneshiek County history, but the good thing is
Anybody else?
that cites all of this sources. So if you wanted to go back and double check, well, here's what we got this stuff. Statistics on
Yeah,
it.
especially over.
Books.
So.
And it was for a while.
I guess, yeah.
Sure.
of-
There was quite a few sets of tracks there.
Just a moment.
Well,
We're still, because there are still 3 supervisors in the room,
Yeah.
everything's still being recorded and filmed. Can you wait for just a moment?
You can go outside.
Split the time.
As soon as possible, you guys take it out there and then they can.
We can go outside, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Yep,
Well, they're leaving.
they're leaving. We just have to legally keep this going as long as 3 of us are here. There's only 1 supervisor in the room now. So thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.